Why, hello, everybody. Welcome to 13th Joe's live stream. I don't know any other stream because, well, this is the one we've got. Um, I'm so excited to be here with you. It's been a crazy week. I don't know about you all. I've literally worn out the edge of my seat, literally being on it all week. And well, today we had the verdict, right? And I think it was the verdict that we were all looking for, and that was deserved in order to get that justice for Tylee and JJ. We were very happy with that and very excited. And whoa, the chat was flying. And just want to give a shout out to our mods for handling the immense amount of people who showed up and showed out, both 13th jurors and those from over on RA's channel. Would you look at that? Somebody's in the chat lurking around. Everybody say hi, Brandy. Tonight, it's just me / Brandy checking in, unless Brandy wants to sign in, and that's fine too. But she needs a break. I think she needs a break. And so yes. Oh, somebody's asking me about the rest of my shirt. I will explain that in just a second. Yeah. So the verdict was announced today, and like 2,100 people flocked to the channel. A massive thanks to RA for sending everybody over. It was fantastic to have that many people and so many great comments and such a great conversation. It was really good. So we really appreciate you being there. My shirt says, I explained, I read it this morning. In fact, I actually this afternoon I meant to change my shirt, but when the kids are just so distracting. The shirt says, "The Earth is not flat. Vaccines work. We've been to the moon. Chemtrails aren't a thing. Maybe." That's not what it says. It doesn't say maybe. Climate change is real, and then stand up for science. So I still wear my tinfoil tiara, but also this. Dean, everybody, we've been on baby watch all day. And the baby watch is a nada. And I know that some of you all were asking for a link to Dean's wish list. Dean's hoping to have that to me by Monday. And so we'll make sure that we put a command in the chat for Monday, and you guys can take a look at the wish list. From what I hear, it's really hard to verify an address in Mexico. So we'll leave it at that, huh? Baby watch. It's been, Dean, it's almost like you meant to do this. We really needed a baby watch today. It was a really nice break from all the heavy stuff too. So let's say hi to some of you folks. Just to give you an idea of what tonight's going to look like. My goal is to do the following. I definitely, because we ended the stream pretty much right before or during the press conference that JJ Valor's grandpa, I think Larry, right? Larry, I'm having a brain fart. Larry Woodcock gave. We're going to play that in the beginning, and then we will read the affidavit for the OnlyFans Stalker trial, because I think it's interesting to read those affidavits. If you get tired of my voice, just let me know. But we'll read that, and then we'll listen to the opening statements. And I was thinking about going further, and I was thinking about going into the rest of the day. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be honest with you. The rest of it's a whole 6 hours, and played on 1.5 speed, you're talking 4 hours. And we have had a hell of a week, and it has been tough and rough. And today was extremely tough too. So I think what we'll do is we'll stop at the end of the openings. We'll let you all have the rest of your weekend and night, Friday night. And on top of that, I want to let you guys know that not Monday, good grief, Sunday, when we usually do our WTF show, we're actually going to not have one this Sunday because it is Mother's Day. So happy early Mother's Day to all of you mothers and mother figures out there. You all are wonderful. I don't know how you do what you do. I don't know how Mrs. Brewcrime does what she does, primarily because she has to deal with me every day. So she really has 3 kids. I have 2. And then there's 3 dogs on top of that. I don't know how she keeps it together. But I owe her my ability to do this every night with you guys, or most nights. And then the bowling, and then everything else that I do. Good grief. So let the record show Mrs. Brewcreme has been thanked. Let's see. Let's pull some comments, some thoughts, some responses to earlier today. I will let her know. I will. And yes, a force to be reckoned with. You're not going to get a disagreement from me on that one at all. Not at all. What else we got going on? No, the baby's not here yet, Gleaves. And by that, I'm delivering this news for Dean as if it's my baby. It's not. I'm just so excited for him. Not yet, but the first cult baby. It will be the first cult baby, and I'm very excited. Hello, Brenda. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. You gave me a nice reminder. If you are new to the channel or you have not been a member or been gifted a membership, you can go ahead and type in the chat !gifts, plural, gifts, and it'll give you a link to go turn that on. Now, the link works really well in a browser, not so hot on a phone, but you can turn the gifts on. And that way, if somebody sends some gifts, then you can receive one. And I think it's a month membership, which is awesome. So there's that. There's that. We also, of course, have the brand new website, 13thjuror.live. You can check that out. We got a lot of cool stuff on there. If you're new and you're not sure what we're joking about when we say portals or daddy or Carmen, thank you so much for the 5 memberships. That is awesome. Really appreciate it. Look, Brenda Meyer, boom, gifted a membership. Bridget, Christine, Lori, Duke, welcome to the cult. Grab some Kool-Aid with a C because 1, we're cooler, and 2, lawsuits. I make myself laugh. I do. And so I don't even remember where I was. But so Sunday we're not going to be doing the WTF. We will be back with a vengeance the next Sunday, and of course we will continue our coverage of the OnlyFans Stalker trial as well. I'm thinking about possibly doing a nice summary of the last couple of days that we've missed, and then in terms of the witnesses, and then hopping into either that day or maybe the day before. I don't want us to get too far behind. I don't know if this is going to be that long of a trial, to be honest with you, per what Ari had mentioned today. So we play a lot of this by ear, and I feel like the courts do as well. But we're so glad that you're with us and along for the ride. Closing arguments are Monday, Amanda. Oh my gosh. Well, we're going to hear opening arguments today, and then I'm going to send you out on I don't know, some homework. What you can do is you can head to our Discord, and the Discord has has a lot of the documentation and information about the OnlyFans trial. And the way to do that is I never get that word right. Exclamation point Discord, as the advocate just popped in there. Thank you very much. And you can join. There's a lot of great information in there. We really, I've been incredibly impressed with how they've put everything together and organized it. It's been absolutely wonderful. Oh boy. So how's everybody doing? You know what? Let's do this before we get to the press conference. Drop in the chat something that you're happy with, or something that was a win for you. Something that was a win for you this week. What was a win for you? I would love to be able to kind of get a couple of those. It's been a day, so we would love to read some of those for you. As they're coming in. Well, thank you very much. I'm biased. I think we have a wonderful community here. Absolutely wonderful. Amanda, I am glad you survived this week. It has been something, and it's relative for everybody. Everybody goes through their own challenges. But we're here. It's Friday night. You're here with me, which I appreciate that more than anything. Terry, thank you. It's almost like I was trying to I wasn't digging for compliments, but I sure appreciate your compliments. I've gotten a couple. today too from some folks that just big old man tears. That's what that was. A win for me from Grandkids Galore was she was guilty on Friday before Mother's Day. That is awesome. We love that. Marilyn, I'm so sorry you broke your thumb, but hey, if you can't work, you can hang out with us. I call that a win, minus the thumb. But you have two of them, so, hopefully you can use the other one. Madeline, that is insane. Insane. That is a long shift, but it ends in an hour, and you should be proud of the fact that you made it through. I am guessing it is something in healthcare because it only seems like healthcare could have that happen. But yes, justice served. I got an out of the blue text from my bonus son thanking me for being a good role model. That is awesome, Julie. I love hearing that. And I love it. And that's why I always say Happy Mother's Day to both mothers and mother figures too, because for some folks they have those people in their lives that have just been just like moms. So getting yard and flower pots ready, fantastic win for me. My local university softball team having a winning record this year and turned it around fast. That is awesome. Also, before I forget, Jill C. Now listen, I'm not as fancy as Brandy, so I wasn't able to put together an image. We will get something together. We'll catch up. But Jill C won the juror chair tonight, and so congrats to you. You were first in chat. So whatever in your head spaces is that chair. Well, that's what it is. That's the easiest way for me to describe it. You can carry it with you wherever you go. You don't have to fit it anywhere. If you move, you ain't got to carry it. And it just so happens that 80s Music Man was second. So 80s Music Man gets that really comfortable, not really, stool. And that's for you tonight. So you get that. And that's whatever you want it to look like as well. I'm thankful both of the worst moms ever were found guilty and are never allowed to hurt someone again. Absolutely. I agree. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh my gosh. Kelly. My dad's in the ICU and had 88 ounces, 11 cups removed from his lungs. That is a lot in surrounding area. My win, though, is that for the first time in at least a year, he said he was feeling pretty darn good. That is a win. That is awesome. And we'll keep thinking about him as he goes through all of that. That's a lot to go through. But seeking that win is it's a good mindset. Thank you for sharing. Let's see what else we got. My daughter is turning 13 in a few days. Well, happy birthday. Happy birthday. My identical twin girls turned 20 yesterday. They were born Mother's Day. Holy cow. Mother's Day 2003, the maths. It does math. I think even I can add 20 to 3. Oh my goodness. Yep. Healthcare job. Yeah. Yep. Both my parents are nurses, so I feel you. Well, I don't personally, but I yep, get it. I get it. That's amazing. Hi, Queen Olive. Hello. Laundered Amber wants everybody to know tomorrow's the memorial service for Lauren. I do not want to mess up her last name. Is it Heike? Who was murdered in Arizona. Please keep her family in your hearts and keep them in your thoughts. So definitely. Thank you for sharing that. We definitely will. Murdoch got denied his request for money to pay Jim and Dick. Being a South Carolinian, that's a win for me and for us. Yep. What else? Pantry moths for the first time. What? It was me against them, and I won. Daughter's better and coming home from rehab Tuesday. That's wonderful, Tangled Crochet. That is really good to hear. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Shelly, Letitia's new mugshot is quite the doozy. If nobody has seen that yet, let me see if I can pull it up from my downloads from this afternoon real quick. Ooh, boy. What a number. Yeah, there you go. That's a winner, huh? Oh, she is on her way. She's already there, actually. Here, a lot of folks were pointing out on Facebook on the RA page, like, yay! And I was like, here's my favorite part. You've got the estimated parole and eligibility date and next parole hearing. And right down here, it's Says this offender is scheduled on the parole board agenda for the month and year above. It's pretty empty. Woo, boy. Yes, the discharge date. January 25th, 9,999. I don't know who wrote those, but it's just like they just have that one thing. It's just like, that's for you. I wonder if they get a printout of this. They must, right? It's got to go in their file. I'm guessing they get one. It looks like she's Denver Women's Correctional Facility. Oh boy. Oh boy. Too soon. Too soon. That's fair, Abe. I don't think it'll ever be too late. It'll always be too soon for sure. Yeah, that's true. I only feel but so bad about posting some of the stuff, specifically about some of these people that we cover. Oof. The other thing that I'd like to show you guys, and we showed this this afternoon, but we are working, and by that I mean Polly Prissy Pants, who we love. She's one of our mods, and she's really helped us out in a lot of different things. But Polly's been working on some new phrases and things, and guess what? It's for baby clothes. So mommy drank Kool-Aid, and all she got was me, and then I'm proof mommy can't resist the Kool-Aid. Oh, I'm so excited to see those on a shirt and worn by a baby. Imagine just the questions. All right, so let's go ahead and let's do this. Let's watch this press conference from from Larry, and let me see if I can get the correct. Well, this would be the correct one. Let's see real quick here. Get the right thing. Chrome tab. Sure. All right, here we go. So let's take a listen.
It was Kay Woodcock, JJ's grandmother, who actually reported the kids missing through a welfare check. And it wasn't Lori herself.
And I will say they are actually
we're gonna
coming out right now, so
way.
I'm going to step out of the way so we can get a shot of them coming out.
Kay and Larry
Kay
Woodcock
and Larry
coming
Woodcock
out of the
out. There's a bunch of cheering happening right now. As they're coming out, you can see they're being embraced and hugged. A lot of emotions out here right now.
People are screaming, "We will rock you," because that was one of JJ's favorite songs.
Oh, and Larry is now singing "We Will Rock You." He's got the whole crowd singing along with him as well as this is happening. A lot of smiles, a lot of cheers amongst the media as well as the spectators out here right now. This is a day that they've been waiting more than 3 years for.
Okay, Larry and Kay are walking up to the microphone. Again, they've been resilient.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Thank you. For one time in my life, I'm kind of lost at words, believe that or not. Look, first of all, I want to thank 18 jurors. I cannot thank them enough. I'm sure everybody has paid attention in court.
Get her here closer.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sure everyone has paid attention in court. I want to personally thank and I want to personally hug every one of those jurors. What they went through, what they saw is mind-boggling. I hope that nobody ever has to go through this. I hope nobody ever has to see and hear the details of what happened to JJ, to Tylee, and to Tammy. Guys, we got 2 more trials.
Yep.
2 more.
3. Charles. Chad and Brandon.
Oh, okay. I'm
I
sorry.
mean,
Well,
Charles
okay.
is in Arizona.
Yeah.
Brandon's in Arizona. And
The
I said
next
Charles.
trial is Chad. I look forward to being back in this courthouse again. If that happens, I hope everybody is here again. I hope that y'all appreciate so much the court system, how meticulous, the prosecution was. I think everybody will agree it was amazing job by all of them. And I want y'all to know that even the defense, I shook their hands. I have said many times, I want a fair, honest, and righteous decision. I think we had 18 jurors that all deserve our appreciation, our love, and they gave an honest, fair, and righteous verdict.
You guys really embraced each other in there at the reading of the verdict. What did you say to each other in that moment?
I love you. What else can you say?
Larry, what was it like walking out and seeing all the law enforcement officers in the hallway?
It was,
Do what?
What was it like walking out seeing all of the law enforcement officers who have spent countless hours?
Oh,
in the hallway?
I know. We would be
And-
nowhere without them.
you know, as much as I have said up here about the prosecution, the defense, the jurors,
Over here too. There's people over here too.
Nate, you made an absolute great statement. We have to appreciate, support our law enforcement officials. Those guys sacrificed from their families, from their homes. We will never know the countless hours, that they have put in, how much sacrifice they have gone through, and most of all, what they have seen in this case that maybe some people will never unsee. I love them. I appreciate them. There's not one of these guys I wouldn't go in a dark alley with. I would. I cannot thank them enough. Next question.
Larry, what is your final message to Lori Vallow?
My final message to Lori. Y'all ready? Turn out the lights. The party's over. They say that all good things must end. Lori, it ended.
Hey, what about you? How are you feeling today? Can you tell us what it was
Yeah.
like?
Can I have a
You,
minute?
yeah.
We are elated with this. There was some doubt we would get all of them, all guilties, but we did it. The prosecution is amazing. The law enforcement is amazing. They became our family, and we're keeping most of them for the rest of our life as family. And even you news people, we've made great friends with you guys. And
Journalist.
oh, and news journalists. Anyway, it's great. Our JJ now, maybe we can get him and put him to rest, as well as Tylee, and do right by them, and we'll see how that works. But anyway, we're so grateful, and we thank all of y'all for your support, and we would never be here without y'all. And so many people have reached out to us, and I mean, I have to tell y'all, we even got a message from someone in Tasmania that is following this case. So
Wow.
it's all over the world, and we appreciate all of you and thank you, and God bless America, because we're grateful we live here. Thank you. Anybody? Larry?
Love always
Larry?
wins.
Yeah.
Hey,
Love always wins.
love always wins. How many times we heard that? I do have one other statement I'd like to make, believe it or not. I do. I forgot one of the most important things. Ray, what would I do without you? I have one more statement. JJ, I love you. Papa, wish you were here in other circumstances. Tylee, Papa loves you. Tammy, I never met you. Tammy, you are part of our life. Tammy, I am sorry for what happened to you. My heart hurts. My heart hurts for these three. This is what this has been all about from the very get-go. It started with 2 children missing. And I stood up and I said, where are the children? Where are the children? Where are the children? Give us back our children. We're not ending this. This is not the end of this. 90 days from today, we will probably meet in Fremont County. The sentence will be handed down. And I'm going to say right now what I'm going to say in 3 months. Why, Lori? Why, Lori? Why?
Power, sex, and greed.
Power, sex, and greed. For what? For what? Power, sex, and greed. That's all it was. And JJ, Papa misses you. I miss you.
Maybe we can take it home. Let's let Jerry
Thank y'all. Okay, yeah. Get somebody in that's pretty.
Look, here,
Get somebody in that's pretty. That's what he said at the end. Get somebody in here that's pretty. Oh my gosh. Woo. Oh man. That was more I mean, I knew it was going to be emotional, but wow. Whew. Just an amazingly strong family. It really, really is. You're right. Big Daddy coming in with a little bit of, yep, it's true. It's very, very true. There just really isn't one. And boy, do I hope she feels like she's heading into one. That's right. I said it. I don't think that that's a hot take, really, to be honest with you. Not really. I am bringing up the affidavit for this new trial. And so that you all know, we're going to read the affidavit, and then after that, we'll watch the opening statements. But you know, it's just been a crazy, crazy week. Oh boy, lock them up with, I don't know. I don't know. It's way too many thoughts in one. You know what? I take that back. Yeah, go for it. We'll see what happens. We'll make it a celebrity. We'll make it they're not celebrities. We'll make it a death match on MTV. Old school. So, yeah, I don't know what they're going to be doing in terms of broadcasting. I know it's in Fremont County, and so I'm not sure what their ruling is in terms of broadcasting that. But if at all possible, we're able to, then we will. And good grief, we started this trial as audio, and working off of audio. So if it's that, then you know, we know how to do it, right? We all know how to do it. So yeah, let's see here. Steel cage match. Oh my god. I love Kay saying that they're keeping all the prosecution team, all the law enforcement, all the media contacts as their own for the rest of their lives. Yeah, just sweet, good people. Sweet and good people. There's no doubt there. They've proven that. The fact that he was willing to shake the hands of the defense, not a lot of people are willing to do that. And we made a lot of fun of the defense, but in reality, they're doing their job. They're doing their job. We don't like how they did the job, but the job itself is not what we go after. It's the fact that it's how they did it. So one final sit down, John Thomas. Sit down. Oh boy. All right. So OnlyFans stalker trial. Y'all, that's where we're headed next. I'm going to give you just a little bit of a summary quickly regarding this so you can have an idea of what's going on, which you probably already do. In fact, you probably have a better idea of it than I do, to be honest with you. But here's the bottom line. This is a man who, he's like 20. He's 20. His name's Mauricio Damian-Guerrero. And he broke into the home of an OnlyFans user and was taking videos of her while she slept naked. It's just, we're going to get into the affidavit now, and I think it's going to tell a little bit more about that. I'm going to try and use my best narrator voice for everybody. And hopefully, we'll work through it. We'll work through it together. Work through it together. So it's it's not a don't go. It's a don't come back. Just get out of there. Out of there. Good gracious. ASMR voice. I don't know about that. I'm no RA in his voice. Woof. He RA's got a really good voice there. But I will do my best, and I will put this up for you all now, and I'm going to try and get myself out of the way, actually. Let me see how I can do that. We'll make me very tiny in the side. That'll be good, and then what we'll do is I'll just move things. I'll move it up as we go. So, I guess the question is, are you all ready? Just pop some silly emoji in there. Oh, goodness. Yes. Don't go. All right. So here is our affidavit. I'm going to go ahead and read a little bit. Actually, I'm going to read. I'm reading until you guys get tired of it, but I don't think you will. All right. I, John W. Sunderland, am a detective sergeant for the Somersworth Police Department. I have been employed by the Somersworth Police Department since March 2009 and have worked in the Investigations Division since January 2011. I am attended the law package of the 150th class to attend the New Hampshire Police Academy. This is him establishing, his rapport here and credibility. Prior to my tenure at the Somersworth Police Department, I was employed by the city of Hinesville in Georgia as a police officer. I also worked for the County of Liberty as a deputy sheriff in Georgia. There I attended a 404-hour police academy. Before that, I was in the United States Army, where I served as a military police soldier and attended a basic training course, as well as advanced individual training in law and order operations. I also hold an associate's degree in criminal justice, which I obtained from the Savannah Technical College in Georgia. I have attended numerous law enforcement classes through, I think it's throughout my career, including I'm not even going to try, CPAC, Celebrate Certified Logical Operator course, Celebrate Mobile forensics fundamentals course. Through my career as a law enforcement officer, I've conducted, overseen, and/or supervised numerous investigations, including but not limited to death investigations, death resultings, robberies, burglaries, arsons, assaults, conspiracies, drug investigations, and multi-jurisdictional investigations, and online and computer-related investigations. Woo! He's done a little bit of everything. Just a little bit. As a result of this burglary investigation, I have learned the following facts, and here we go. Number one, on February 9th, 2021, officers of the Somersworth Police Department responded to 34 Highland Street for a report that tenants VB and RN heard what they believed was someone on the roof. VB told officers RN has a stalker and that they would have to talk to her about it, and also that they have raccoons, but wanted them to check out these noises. The officers, Sergeant, I'm going to call him Sergeant L because I really don't feel like, trying to pronounce it. Hey, look, everybody say hi to Jay and Jabo Nation. Check out Jay. Jay's doing a great job covering. Oh, good grief! I don't. Well, blank on the name right now. I've got it here. Wait for it. Brandon Castiglione. Is that right? Oh, goodness gracious. It is one of those nights. But he's doing a great job doing that. You definitely check him out during the day. And boy, has that trial apparently gone left, taken just a left turn. Oh, yeah. Oh, is it? Yeah. Yeah, this one's believe it or not, New Hampshire. Boy, they're pulling a Florida, aren't they? No offense to anybody in Florida. Oh, gosh. So, the officers entered the attic and heard what sounded to them like heavy footsteps on the roof. Number two, RN was asked about her stalker and said she had awoken to him standing in her doorway just before VB called the police. Initially, thinking the figure was her mother, she called out Mom. The figure then took off down the hallway. Number three, police went outside as they felt they could still hear walking, and when they did, they could see a male figure standing on a flat section of the roof of the home located at the rear of the home. This flat roof would have been accessed by a window in the attic. Officer South maintained a visual of this male while Sergeant L re-entered the attic, bringing the male in and detaining him. The male would be positively identified as Mauricio Damian-Guerrero, who lives in I think that's Bethlehem, PA, who was also identified as RN's alleged stalker. He is 20 years old, although this makes it seem, well, now he's 22. He was 20 at the time. Maybe it's Bensalem. Maybe I'm getting it wrong. Something tells me it's Bethlehem, though. It's approximately 348 miles from Somersworth, and according to a map app, oh, did he use Waze or did he use Google? Its driving time is just over 6 hours and 15 minutes. Number four, Sergeant L, while detaining the male, asked how he got into the house, and he said he came in through the door. The male was told he was under arrest, handcuffed, and searched. He was later transported to SPD. Number five. Oh, goodness. Number five, VB provided a written statement to police stating she heard footsteps, and RN entered her room advising she awoke to someone standing in her doorway, and he walked away. The two began looking around a bit when they heard footsteps in the attic and called the police. Among other things, she also wrote RN, talked to her about her stalker, and she was concerned for their safety as it is easy to find out where they live, and that she noticed things, quote, off this week. She explained a downstairs window was open about an inch, letting cold air in the living room, and back doors near the kitchen being open a few mornings. She said tonight with the police, they found the back door to the outside open and shoes inside it. Damien was not wearing shoes when he was arrested. Damien? And these shoes were determined to be his. VB dismissed the items she thought were off as she was just busy. Number six, RN provided a written statement advising she met Mauricio around the end of October through her online job, OnlyFans. She said he seemed nice at first, and she gave him her address because he wanted to buy her a TV and fireplace for her apartment in Dover. She never really wanted to meet him, but he was very pushy, and eventually she was walking to her car and noticed a car pulled over close to her. She saw him ducking and hiding inside his car. She ran inside crying and called him to verify it was actually him, and eventually he admitted to this. She said it was at this point Mauricio admitted to her he has been to her place before and that he has slept in his vehicle in the parking lot across from her old apartment in Dover. Oh my gosh. She described being scared of him and feeling like she had to be nice at that point. A few weeks later, he told her to look out his window. He told her to look out, I think, her window, and he was standing there. I'm going to pop this up. It's starting to get a little obviously difficult, and if you've been in this situation and this is very triggering for you, please, that's okay. Take care of yourself. It says we'll see you tomorrow. We'll see you on Monday. I just want to put that out there right now. She described being scared of him and feeling like she had to be nice at that point. A few weeks later, he told her to look out his window and he was standing there. She said she let him in because she didn't know what to do, and they hung out for maybe 2 hours and then she made him leave. She said they continued texting and said sometimes she would be nice and other times kept telling him to leave her alone. She wrote that tonight he FaceTimed her and showed he was in front of her mom's house. She said she went out and asked him to leave and told him he can't come to her mom's and to never come there again. She said 2 hours later she awoke to him standing in her hallway staring at her. She said she did not invite him in her mom's house at any point. Number 7. Mauricio's vehicle, a 2015 Ford F-150 bearing PA registration that was found to have been registered to a third party, Jesus Vasquez of Bensalem, Pennsylvania. Jay, thanks so much for the super sticker, sir. Much appreciated. Everybody go check out Jay. Head over to The Shaming of Jay. Hit subscribe. That's not hard. Hit subscribe. You guys did it here. Do it over there too. So the F-150 was registered to a third party, Jesus Vasquez of Bensalem, Pennsylvania. It was not parked in her driveway. It was parked around the corner away from the house. Ultimately, that vehicle was towed by Eddie B's to prevent Mauricio from returning to the area and to protect the interests of the registered owner. This vehicle was towed to the Berwick, Maine storage lot. Oh my goodness gracious. Number 8, Mauricio was transported to SPD where he was read his Miranda rights, waiving them at 6:15 a.m. Mauricio was asked for consent to search his vehicle, but denied this request. In this post-Miranda statement, Mauricio admitted he had met RN through a website, OnlyFans. He admitted he entered the house without permission through a side door of the residence to attempt to reclaim a TV that he had bought for her. He claimed he made his way to the attic level of the house after hearing voices of people in the house, and he would relocate to a lower roof of the house because he heard the voices of officers entering. Mauricio admitted he knew he was not authorized to enter the home. He was subsequently charged with nighttime burglary for entering with the purpose of stealing the TV and later released on personal recognizance bail. Number 9. Oh boy. So as we go through this, something I want to make sure that we all do is let's not. I'm not saying anybody is, but just a kind of a baseline. We don't want to victim blame. There's a lot of stuff that could have happened that we don't know about. There's a lot of things going on. She was at her mom's house instead. Sometimes you default to what your mom does, whether it's locked or unlocked, in terms of doors and things. So let's try and we'll avoid that. We'll just talk about kind of what he did. Feel free to make endless fun of him. That's okay. That's all right. This guy is something else. Number 9, I arrived for work on this day, and due to being short-staffed, I was working as the shift supervisor for day shift 0700 to 1500 in uniform and fully marked police unit. Upon my arrival, I met with Sergeant L to inquire if there was anything that was going to carry over to my shift. She explained this incident to me, and I suggested asking for consent to download his phone, as it sounded to me like there would be extensive text content that would be relevant to the investigation. Sergeant L completed a consent to search form, which Mauricio signed, and provided me the phone and advised he gave consent, but did not tell me of any limitations put on the consent. Number 10. Given this was consent, I began working on the phone as soon as the shift was assigned. I connected the phone to the Celebrite and obtained a logical and file system download. While I was downloading the phone, I was aware that Maurizio was in the lobby waiting for it. It was brought to my attention later that Maurizio had money and belongings in the truck that was towed along with his shoes. Dispatch was trying to make arrangements for Maurizio to get them, and I suggested sending an officer to retrieve those items. Officer Barrow would respond and retrieve his shoes and provide them to Maurizio. You could have just let him walk home. That would have been fine, I think, at this point. Oh, allegedly. Number 11. Once the phone finished downloading, I returned the phone to Maurizio after confirming the Celebrite, retrieved the text conversations which I had been made aware that RN used 2 numbers to communicate with him. Given the fact that OnlyFans was the reference to how they met, and that I was aware of OnlyFans being an online site where females can chat with customers as well as share images and videos, I checked to see if there would be any videos of RN inviting Maurizio over to the house and limited this to February 2022. Number 12. I'm looking over here because this is where my screen is that I'm sharing, but I'm seeing here the best chat. Y'all are sweet. So I'm glad that it's going well in the chat as I'm going through this because I'm not looking at it. Thank you, everybody, for being awesome. And thanks, mods, for staring at all of that so I can do this. Mucho appreciated. Number 12. There were not a lot of videos in this time frame, and they showed as only a small thumbnail on the Cellbrite. I noticed the last video did not appear to load, and when I clicked on it, it didn't play. The second to last video was a video of what appeared to be female's genitalia. I clicked on this video and found it to be recorded on 2/9/2022 around 0319 hours. This video appeared to be a video of female's genitalia. It appeared the video was of a female lying on a bed with no panties on and her legs spread, exposing her bare vagina. There was a red and white designed blanket under the female, and the top of the video appeared to be a bed sheet or comforter. The video did not appear to have any sound, so it did not appear to be an invitation either. It was my belief from this video that it was taken of female who was not aware the video was being taken. Go back. There was no location information attached to this video either, and it did not appear to be shared with or by Maurizio. That is terrifying. Thank you, sir. Wow. If anybody went into that number 12 thinking that he was describing a video off of OnlyFans, no, it sounds like he's describing the video off of Maurizio's phone that he took himself. Okay. Number 13. The third to last video was a video taken on 2/8/2022 at or about 10:15 and was a video of a home. The video showed 2 bedrooms that were on an upper level because the video showed a stair railing. There were no people shown in the video, and the video showed the home was clearly in disarray. Again, there was no location information attached to this video. Number 14, it was at this point that I feared these 2 videos were taken inside the home of VB and RN, and that the video of the female was that of either VB or RN. The search of the phone download stopped at this point. The Cellbrite actually froze and was eventually closed without any further analysis. Based upon the timeline, I could assume the video of the exposed female would have been taken a little over an hour before they called the police, and more than 30 minutes after RN said she told Maurizio he was not welcomed at her home, as she wrote about 2 hours after telling him she awoke to him standing in her hallway. This would lead me to believe that neither VB or RN were aware of this video, nor had they granted consent for it to be taken. Number 15. I returned to the lobby around 10 o'clock to discuss this matter further with Maurizio to find that he had left the SPD. In this time, I was discussing this case with my fellow officers and supervisors when Officer Barrow spoke up and informed me that when he went to get the money and shoes from Maurizio's truck, he noticed photos of a female and a female's panties in the center console. At this time, Officer Barrow did not know what either potential victim looked like for comparison. He also noted tools, to include pry bars, in the truck. Good night. Y'all are hanging in there. Thank you very much. Number 16, I asked dispatch to contact Eddie B's and place a hold on the truck pending a search warrant. A short time later, I was made aware that Mauricio showed up attempting to get the truck, but was directed back to SPD to speak with me about getting the truck. So what he tried to do was he tried to go to Dad to ask the question that he just asked Mom, hoping that Dad would say yes. But Dad's smart enough. So Dad told them to go back to Mom. Oh. Number 17, Officer Barrel and I proceeded to 34 Highland Street in an attempt to make contact with the VB and RN. We made contact with RN, who invited us inside, and I informed her partially of my findings. I explained that what I was requesting was to see the upstairs of her home and her bed, where she sleeps, to determine if the videos I found were of her home and potentially her. She agreed to this in her bed, and in her bedroom, I found she slept under a white comforter and on a patchwork blanket that had a square, which was the same pattern I saw in the video showing the female's exposed genitals. Number 18, I informed RN of exactly what was in the video I saw and explained to her. She confirmed she did not give him consent, nor was she aware the video was taken. She was explained the process for a forensic interview and agreed. One was scheduled for Wednesday, 2/16/2022 at 0900. RN confirmed while we were there that she was a heavy sleeper and confirmed that last night she slept in her bed with her 3-year-old child. Also, I told her that it was clear to me from the home that there was another video in his phone taken on 2/8/2022 around 10 o'clock of her bedroom, the hallway, and the second bedroom. She again said Mauricio did not have her permission to be in her home at that time. She also believed she may have been home at that time, but said she may have also left. It was clear from RN's hands visibly shaking that she was distraught and upset over the news she just received regarding these videos and Mauricio being in her home. Number 19, while speaking with RN, she made Officer Barrel and I aware that it seemed like Mauricio was in the attic for some time as he had food up there and had urinated in a cup. She said he also left his AirPods up there. Not good job, buddy. She allowed Officer Barrel and I access to the attic where we found exactly what she described. There was a half-eaten hash brown on the steps with an unopened pack of graham crackers. On the floor, just beyond that, was a McDonald's breakfast, an open water bottle, an AirPod case, and something that was wrapped in blue tape. These items were photographed and collected. Also, in talking to RN, she told us that strange things have happened. She said her keys disappeared on Monday. She said her mother put her keys on the table and then they were gone. RN said they looked everywhere for the keys, but then they somehow just reappeared. I asked to see the keys, which was only a vehicle and a house key, which I photographed. Excuse me. Number 20. I asked Officer Barrel to open the item in the blue tape, and when he did, I saw that it was a tile. A tile is a Bluetooth tracking device that can be attached to items so that they can be easily found or tracked as it shows location information to the device it is connected to. Holy crap. I did recall there was a tile app open on Mauricio's phone when I was verifying the information captured and prior to returning the phone to him. As Officer Barrel and I were leaving, we spent a few moments examining the exterior of the house and noted on the driveway side of the house in the driveway there was a 3-window section of the house. On 2 of the windowsills, there were red marks on the white trim. These red marks lined up with section where it appeared something was pushed under the window, slightly damaging the window edging. Of the 3 windows, 2 had these marks. The smaller window had 2 marks and the larger window had 3 marks. I also looked at the outside of the window and noticed what looked like fingerprints, where someone put their hand fingers on the window in an attempt to push the window open. We left and I made arrangements for some members of our agency's crime scene processing unit to respond to the house to process it further. Sergeant McKnight and Officer Seawards would respond. 1 second. Just need a drink. Whew. Number 21. Shortly After Officer Barrel and I left the house, I was informed that Mauricio was back at SPD to talk to me about his vehicle. I brought Mauricio into an interview room around 11 o'clock, informed him the room was recorded, the door was only closed for our privacy, and I informed him that he was arrested earlier for burglary, and he confirmed this. I informed him that earlier he was read his rights, and he confirmed this. I told him that I had a few more questions for him from earlier, and he asked if he was okay with that, which he said he was. I told Mauricio that he is free to leave and not to get that mistaken, and he understood. 22. Hold on, what jury has reached what verdict? Somebody explain to me what is going on. Who's reached what verdict? You can take 2 seconds. Anyone? Me? Oh. Wait, hold on. You've reached a verdict? Is that what that is? This jury, this case. Yeah, I need water. That's what that is. That's what that tells me. Good grief, JT. Get it together. You see, I'm all hopped up on Mountain Dew. I saw verdict and I was like, what are we jumping to? All right. I told Mauricio that we need to talk about what is going on. I told Mauricio that I was in the process of doing a search warrant for his vehicle, and I told him that what I thought I was going to find was a red pry bar he used to break into the house. Mauricio denied this. I asked Mauricio if his prints were going to be on the window, pushing his window up from the outside, and he denied this. Thank you, Rhonda. Appreciate it. Whew. Wait, they got you too? Okay, good. It wasn't just me. Phew. Good night. Not really. Not literally. I asked Mauricio if his prints were going to be on the window, pushing his window up from the outside, and he denied this. I told Mauricio there was also going to be videos on his phone that he took of her last night. I explained the AirPod and tile he left upstairs. I asked where his keys were, and he said with the truck. I told him what I thought I was going to find on his phone was a key for her house that he had broken in on Monday, stole her key, and had it duplicated. Mauricio denied all these accusations. Buddy, they got you, man. Number 23, Mauricio initially claimed that he didn't go to Somersworth until 2300. Over the course of the interview, Mauricio would claim a number of conversations with her on her phone, and he claimed she invited him over, but not in. He also claimed that she told him at one point she wanted a man to be obsessed with her and stalk her. Ooh, I have non-family friendly words for this guy. Non-family friendly words. Oh, God. Mauricio continued to deny breaking into the house yesterday morning and continued to deny most accusations. I specifically pointed out the video he took at 03:19 this AM. Number 24. I told Mauricio that this was not the time to lie to me, as I had already seen the videos. I told him not to lie to me. This is where they get you, right? I told him not to lie to me, and this was the time for him to get his story out because he didn't want me to put this my way. Then I asked Mauricio if he wanted me to put this my way, and he asked me to put it my way. I told Mauricio that my way is that he was breaking into the house for days, that he has been breaking into this house since prior to yesterday at 10 o'clock. And he said, well, yeah, they hooked up. Man. Number 25. Ultimately, Mauricio would eventually admit to breaking into the house on Tuesday morning. He said he broke in looking for a fireplace TV that he had... Are there combo? It doesn't matter. Not important. That he had given her as he wanted it back. He also said he wanted a hat and a belt he had left at her home when she lived in Dover. He admitted to taking the video yesterday morning of the house because it was such a mess. What? Okay. Maurizio admitted to breaking in again last night, and while being in the home, he admitted to taking the video of RN's private parts. He denied knowing her child was in the bed with her, but admitted to lifting the sheets and taking the video without her knowledge or consent. 26. Maurizio would eventually admit that he arrived in the area yesterday around 0400 and went to his Airbnb to rest. He got up and went to McDonald's, then went by her house and saw her car was not there. He described her car as a white Jeep. He brought his food in and was looking in the house for his fireplace TV, and after finding it, he went looking for his hat and belt. That is when he took the video of the house while he ate a hash brown. Don't think he was at a hash brown. From there, he went to the attic where he ate and ended up leaving his food. There was a half-eaten hash brown here. After breaking in this time, he left, went back to his Airbnb in Portsmouth where he played video games. Then just before 2100, he went to Target off the highway where he bought snacks and a tile that he was going to put in her car to track her. Ugh. He went to the house and RN got in his car with him where they talked and went to the corner store. Maurizio said he parked around the corner and took a nap and then went back to the house again after 0200 and went in the back door. He said he went in to get his TV fireplace back. This is when he took the video of her privates. Then he heard voices, so he tried to get away from them by going to the attic, and that is where he tried to hide from the police. 27. Maurizio would also admit in this interview that he stole RN's panties and photos of her from the home. These were the panties and photos observed in his truck by Officer Barrow. 28. I left the room for a few minutes to bring Officer Barrow into the interview. When I did, I asked Captain Duval to get Maurizio a Coke. Captain Duval informed me as I was returning to the room that when he gave Maurizio the Coke, he took it and then immediately wiped his prints off the can with his shirt sleeve. Oh, somebody's been watching Law and Order. A later video review showed he was clearly thirsty and he immediately went to open the can, and as it started to crack, he immediately pulled his hands away, put them in his shirt sleeves, and wiped the can free of prints. When I entered the room, I saw the unopened can in front of him, so I told him that I didn't give him the can because I needed his prints, because I already had them. Maurizio then opened his Coke. Good grief. 29. After talking to Maurizio for some time, I left the room to contact Eddie Bees, Berwick PD, and the Stratford County Attorney to determine how to retrieve the property across state lines. When I returned, I discussed consent with Maurizio regarding retrieving this property as well as retrieving his money for him. In discussing the vehicle he was driving, Maurizio did not know the last name of the owner of the vehicle, saying it is his mother's friend and he is currently in Mexico. Therefore, at this point, it is unclear if he is supposed to have this vehicle or not. I also discussed consent for his DNA. I also informed Maurizio that given the new developments that he would be charged with additional counts of burglary and that we would be seeking his detention and he would be going to jail for the night. Yes. I made Maurizio aware of this and informed him that whether or not he gave consent, this would not change anything. 30. I completed the forms for Maurizio, and after confirming he could read, I gave him the forms to read. Eventually, after some time had passed, Maurizio agreed to consent to his DNA and consent to search the truck. Eventually, after some time had passed, Maurizio granted consent. I obtained his DNA, and Officer Seawards accompanied Maurizio and I to Berwick. Hydrate! Hydrate! Good night. All right, I don't know if my mic's going to pick this up, and I'm not trying to do this is totally an RA thing, but I definitely need to refill this lovely cup. Is everybody doing okay? Good gracious. Maurizio is thirsty. Gotta have that. You know, it's not really it's not a glowing review for Coca-Cola though. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying. Carmen, can you have a concealed weapon? I don't know. I don't know what the laws are. I I don't have any. So I don't. It's not usually in my wheelhouse. Somebody might be able to tell you. Tommy, Brandy has taken the night off. She did all week. She allowed me to have 2 nights off. She's taken a night off. Boy, oh boy. I'm really worried that I'm freaking everybody out, actually. This is something that I said last night, that I would be keeping track of everybody in terms of how everybody's feeling. I would not be doing this case if I didn't know how supportive this community was. But overall, if this is doing more damage to the majority of the community than good, we will find something else. I do not want to put people through those faces on those emojis. I will continue on. I think this is the good part, though, right? Number 31, Mauricio was placed into handcuffs, in front of his person and transported to Berwick in Cruiser 121. We met with Officer Poor, where Mauricio again signed a consent to search the truck in Maine. The consent search of the truck was videotaped, and I was given the keys by Berwick. Mauricio was present at the truck during the entire search. He was not in the back of the cruiser, where he could not tell us to stop. As a result of this search, we recovered a red pry bar. When we recovered this, I asked Mauricio what he used it for, and he asked him knowingly, and Mauricio admitted he used it to pry the windows on the side of the house open. Mauricio admitted he used this bar on 2 of the windows. In the console were panties and photos. I removed the panties and pulled each out in front of Mauricio, and for each pair of female underwear, Mauricio admitted they belonged to RN. I asked Mauricio who the photos belonged to, showing him the photos, and he said RN. I moved to the driver's door, where I found a few receipts. Among these receipts was a receipt for McDonald's for hotcakes, hash browns, OJ, and bottled water, bought on 2/8/2022 at 10:05, and a Target receipt for bananas. This was on his dash, masking tape, and a tile. These were bought on 2/8/2022 at 21:44. We also took his money, $1,400, and a check he had not cashed yet, and a small screwdriver that he said he would need to get a bracelet off so the jail didn't cut it off. These items stayed with Mauricio. 32. While in Berwick, I looked at the 4 keys on the key ring with the truck key. I noticed one key bore a very similar appearance to RN's house key. I told Mauricio this, and he explained the 4 keys, saying one went to the Airbnb, one to his house, one to his room, and one to a locket. This is the key that I believed matched RN, as it was a house key, not a locket key. I made a comment to Mauricio, and he said the locket is large. What? What? This is not a locket key, sir. This is a large key. Yeah, well, the locket's large. Oh, good grief. What an news. It's true. I think everybody's having the exact same thing. Oh my gosh. Yeah, magnify. Big locket energy. BLE. Oh, good grief. Listen, when you have a door, you got to lock it. But okay. Number 33, upon leaving, we met with Officer Barrel, who had been at a residence with Sergeant McKnight. He returned to SPD with Mauricio, and I, while I sent Officer Seawards to the house to assist Sergeant McKnight, informed him that I also wanted him to check the keys on Mauricio's key ring against the locks at 34 Highland Street. Upon return to SPD, Mauricio was placed into a cell. Number 34. Officer Seawards confirmed one of the keys on the key. We're almost done, everybody. One of the keys on the key ring worked on a lock at 34 Highland Street. I asked Officer Barrel to confront Maurizio with this, and he did. Maurizio admitted after confronted with this information that he broke into the house on Monday using the pry bar and entered the window. He claimed this is when he stole the photos and stole the key. He claimed he went to Home Depot and had a key made from the keys he stole. That's something that gets me, is those key makers. That is very, very scary. Maurizio also unlocked the door latches to the back doors, which is how he would continue to enter the home. He made this key so that he would be able to get into the house. He returned to the house around 10 o'clock a.m. and returned the key, and this is when he stole the panties in photo. 35. It was during this conversation that Maurizio would claim that when he returned later, he and RN hooked up in his truck, claiming to have touched her breasts and vagina and claimed she gave him a blowjob. What a classy guy. He dropped her off and left and then broke in later, and that is when he took the video of her vagina. When asked why, Maurizio now said he just wanted to see. Nope. Maurizio, nope. Nope. Officer Barrow would confront the fact that Maurizio wanted to sleep with her, and he said he did, but he wouldn't do that because she was sleeping. There was also a 3-year-old in her bed. Non-family friendly words. Number 36, Maurizio's phone that had been returned to him has been re-seized by police pending a search warrant for further extractions and further analysis. Good. 37, Sergeant McKnight and Officer Seawards completed processing the residence and reported that they collected fingerprints from the side window where the tool was used by Maurizio, and further that the pry bar collected from the vehicle could have produced the marks on the windowsills. They also reported that inside the rear door where Maurizio entered the residence, they found blue masking tape, which would match the tape placed on the tile. Yep, that. Absolutely. Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, is it Officer? No, it's not Officer. It's not officers. It's literally C-word. It's like Squidward, but otherwise. Brandy, Brandy, you're the best. See, somebody who supports their own channel. That's fantastic. I love it so much. All right, we're gonna keep going. Oh boy. Number 38. Maurizio was ultimately transported to the Stratford County House of Corrections pending an arraignment in Stratford Superior Court on 2/10/2022 after refusing bail, as he was aware I would be seeking preventative detention. Based on my training and experience and the fact as outlined above, I believe there's probable cause that Mauricio Damian-Guerrero committed multiple crimes of burglary at 34 Highland Street in Somersworth, New Hampshire. Specifically, that he committed burglary on 2/7/2022 during the daytime with the intent to steal the keys of RN, 2/8/2022 during the daytime with the intent to steal the panties of RN, 2/9/2022 during the night with nighttime with the intent to steal the TV fireplace, or RN, 2/9/2022 during the night time with the intent to commit the crime of invasion of privacy of RN, and further that it's an occupied structure that Maurizio was not licensed or privileged to enter. Wow. John W. Sunderland, Detective Sergeant, subscribed and sworn this 9th day of February. Good grief. Holy cats. Yep. It is something else. It is something else. Well, we're gonna hop right on into those opening statements. And yeah, she's supposed to be resting. Lisa. My sound effects are genuine. I can at least say that much. That is for sure. We're gonna hop right on into the opening statements here, y'all. And let's see here. Carmen, thank you so much. I appreciate you for that and for so many other things. Marilyn, that's a good question. It just went it's in trial. We're gonna try and make sure that I stay out of the way. But really, I just want to hit the trash can. Just delete. But we'll keep it going. All right, I'm gonna try and keep up with chat. I am also going to actually, since chat is on the bottom, I probably should come up here. I'm gonna keep up with chat. We're also gonna listen to this. Oh, here we go. I lied. I'm gonna move it down here. You just have to, cover up my face every now and again. Samantha, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Yes, I love this community. I absolutely love this community. Whew, it's fantastic. Okay, here we go.
Any of the jurors, and I know you know that, and I know you won't do that. It came to my attention through our communications office yesterday that there may be a side agreement with the prosecution to pixelate certain witnesses. I just want you to know that is not a court order. You're not obligated to do it. You may have agreed to do it, but you're not obligated to do it. And in the future, for the sake of the parties,
Yep. Okay, that's what I thought. That's what I was worried. I was worried about that. I was worried that I didn't hit that share volume button. Let's go. Let's see here. All right, here we go.
Any of the jurors, and I know you know that, and I know you won't do that.
Here we go.
It came to my attention through our communications office yesterday that there may be a side agreement with the prosecution to pixelate certain witnesses. I just want you to know that is not a court order. You're not obligated to do it. You may have agreed to do it, but you're not obligated to do it. And it's
wild having video.
For the sake of the parties, it's my opinion that Rule 204 provides the exclusive mechanism.
Very low volume, huh?
Limiting media access. If a party wishes.
I am not happy with this audio at all. I wish I had something that could turn it up. Oh, no. I'm trying to think of another way real quick off the top of my noggin. All right. Everybody bear with me. Try and work this non-existent magic that I have. Doxed amongst yourselves. Doxed amongst yourselves. Stretch. Yes. I'm pretty sure it's Mike Myers. I'm overclamped. Barbara, talk amongst yourselves. Very much so. John Thomas jokes. Somebody drop some Thomas. You know what? That's a good idea. Whenever it happens, you just drop some John Thomas jokes. And hopefully it works. Oh, well, I can just not talk. Shireen, I could just not talk. That would save everybody. John Thomas uses a chocolate baking tray. He thinks the stock market has a fence around it. Oh, good grief. Let's see. Okay. Let's see what I can do. That's not what I wanted. I don't think that's any louder, but it might be. Well, we'll see. Sorry, everybody. Do. Okay. Thank you. Audio. Okay. Here we go. go here. Let's see if this is better, everybody. Whew. All right, let's see if this is better. Let me know. There's still no sound? What the hand grenade is going on? I don't have these issues. Drat. Then we're just going to do this. How about now?
It's my opinion that Rule 204 provides the exclusive mechanism for restricting or limiting media access. If a party wishes to limit or restrict, they have to file a motion to do so. It may be that the media agrees to do it.
Is the
but
sound
I
better?
have an independent obligation
Is it
to
louder?
ensure public access to the courtroom. And side agreements like that do not give me the opportunity to ensure that all of the proper considerations are taken into account. And you have certain standards that you have to meet.
A little
So
bit better.
I'm not going to interfere
I can
with
make it
any
a lot
agreement
better.
that you may have made. I just want it to be clear to the media that you're not under any obligation to make those agreements. And there is no court order restricting your access except for the jurors. All right, thank you. So let's bring in the jury.
Is that better? I brought it down. My mic.
Please rise, jury enter. Please be seated.
All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So the first thing you'll already observed is that there is a packet on your seat. That's a notebook for you to take notes if you choose. I'm going to give you an instruction on note-taking in a moment. For now, you can set those packages down because you will not be taking notes for a little bit. The first order of business here this morning is swearing your oath as jurors, and then the clerk, after she takes your oath, will be reading the charges to you. Following that, I'll be giving you very brief preliminary instructions, which will include instructions on note-taking. So at this time, I am going to ask the jury to stand, raise your right hand, and swear your oath according to the clerk.
Thank you, Judge. Members of the jury, do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will carefully consider the evidence and the law provided to you in this case, and that you will deliver a fair and true verdict as to the charges against the defendant? If so, please say, I do. I do. Thank you. You may be seated. I'll now read the charges to you. In docket number 219-2022 CR68, charge ID number 1977940C, the state has charged the defendant Mauricio Guerrero with burglary. The charging document alleges that on or between the first and last days of January in the year 2022 at Somersworth, the defendant did commit the crime of burglary in that, with the purpose to commit the crime of violation of privacy and or theft therein, he entered 34 Highland Street, an occupied structure that was not open to the public at the time, and which he was not licensed or privileged to enter, and such entry was at night. In docket number 219-2022 CR64, charge ID number 1948114C, the state has charged the defendant Mauricio Guerrero with burglary. The charging document alleges that on or between the 7th and 9th days of February in the year 2022 at Somersworth, the defendant did commit the crime of burglary in that, with the purpose to commit the crime of violation of privacy and or theft therein, he entered or remained unlawfully in 34 Highland Street, an occupied structure that was not open to the public at the time and which he was not licensed or privileged to enter. In docket number 219-2022-CR64, charge ID number 194-8115C, the state has charged the defendant Mauricio Guerrero with burglary, and the charging document alleges that on or between the 7th and 9th days of February in the year 2022 at Somersworth, the defendant did commit the crime of burglary, in that, with the purpose to commit the crime of violation of privacy and or theft therein, he entered or remained unlawfully in 34 Highland Street a second time, and such residence is an occupied structure that was not open to the public at the time, and which he was not licensed or privileged to enter. In docket number 219-2022-CR64, charge ID number 197-7910C, the state has charged the defendant Mauricio Guerrero with burglary, and the charging document alleges that on or between the 7th and 9th days of February in the year 2022 at Somersworth, the defendant did commit the crime of burglary, in that, with the purpose to commit the crime of violation of privacy and or theft therein, he entered or remained unlawfully in 34 High Street a third time, and such residence is an occupied structure that was not open to the public at the time and which he was not licensed or privileged to enter. In docket number 219-2022-CR68, charge ID number 194-8138C, the state has charged the defendant Mauricio Guerrero with burglary, and the charging document alleges that on or between the 7th and 9th days of February in the year 2022 at Somersworth, the defendant did commit the crime of burglary, in that, with the purpose to commit the crime of violation of privacy and or theft therein, he entered or remained unlawfully in 34 Highland Street a fourth time, and such residence is an occupied structure that was not open to the public at the time, and which he was not licensed or privileged to enter, and such entry was at night. In docket number 219-2022-CR4, CR64, charge ID number 199-2047C, the state has charged the defendant Mauricio Guerrero with violation of privacy. The charging document alleges that between February 8th, 2022 and February 9th, 2022, that the defendant did, for the purpose of arousing or gratifying his sexual desire, knowingly viewed RN without her consent or knowledge in her bedroom, a place where she would have a reasonable expectation of privacy. In docket number 219-2022-CR64, charge ID number 199-2048C, the state has charged the defendant Mauricio Guerrero with violation of privacy. The charging document alleges that between February 8th, 2022 and February 9th, 2022, the defendant did unlawfully and without the consent of RN, a person entitled to privacy therein, use a device for the purpose of recording images of her private body parts. Members of the jury, the defendant has been arraigned on these charges and he has entered pleas of not guilty. And that he puts himself upon his country for trial, which country you are. The county attorney has joined the issue for the state, and you are to say by your verdict whether the defendant is guilty or not guilty of the crimes charged. Please listen carefully to the evidence.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so in a few moments, we're going to have the opening statements of counsel. Let me briefly describe to you what the opening statements are, what their purpose is. The opening statements are an opportunity for the attorneys to inform you of what they expect the evidence to be in the case, and perhaps the significance of some of that evidence. It is essentially a roadmap for what the trial is supposed to look like from their perspective. What the lawyers say in their opening statements, however, is not the evidence. It is only what they expect the evidence to show. The evidence comes from the witnesses and the exhibits that are entered into evidence. So, in addition, you are permitted, as I mentioned, to take notes in this case. I do not allow note-taking, however, during the opening statements. The reason for that is because the opening statements are not the evidence in the case. So when the opening statements are done, I will try to remember to remind you that you can open up your notebooks and take your notes. If you decide to take notes, and it's entirely up to you, you're not obligated to take notes, but if you decide to, I would caution you to follow the following instructions. Do not attempt to make a verbatim transcript of what's happening in the courtroom, taking down every word that the lawyers say, every word that I say, and that the witnesses say.
New Hampshire.
First of all, that's impossible to do. Secondly, your notes should only be a memory aid for you. And if you try to take down everything that's happening, you're going to be so consumed with note taking that you may miss some important things that a witness is saying or a question that a lawyer is asking. So try not to overindulge in note taking. One of the other reasons it's important is you may find as a juror, in assessing the credibility of witnesses who are testifying, that it may be just as important to you what the witness is saying as how the witness is saying it. What their body language is, their facial expressions, how they react to certain questions.
Oh, the crackle.
I'm not saying those are important
going
considerations to you, but they may be. And if you are over consumed with the idea of taking notes, you may miss some of those observations that could be important to you. Another word about note taking, as I mentioned, they are for your own memory aid. You will have the notes available to you in deliberations, but you are not to use them as some kind of authority to persuade other jurors that your memory of what happened is correct and theirs is not. In other words, you cannot hold up your notebook and say, see, I wrote it down. That's what happened. The reason I don't allow that is you yourself may make a mistake, or you may be misinterpreting your own note. You may have written
Yeah, it's the
something
audio.
down, but then as you're talking to the other jurors, you may say, I know I wrote that down and I think the language is correct, but it doesn't mean what I thought it meant.
Thanks.
So you want to make sure that you're not trying to persuade other jurors that you're right just because.
Sorry, everybody, for the crackling.
Finally, you may
There's
from
loose
time to
connection,
time
and it's not
observe that
mine.
I'm taking notes. Simply because I'm taking notes does not mean that you have to. And simply because you may be observing that at a particular moment I'm writing something
Beat me
down,
to it.
that doesn't mean it's important. I take notes for a very different purpose, and I may be writing something down that has nothing to do with what the witness is saying. I have to make legal rulings as the trial develops. And based on my experience, as things are developing, I may write things down to remind me later that if a lawyer is asking for something, that this is what I recall happening. So just because I'm writing it down doesn't mean you have to, and you should simply ignore the fact that I'm taking notes. All right. Typically for our process, I will sit for about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. I try not to go much longer than that because I think it's difficult to continue to pay attention after that length of time. So we'll take a break about every hour to hour and 15 minutes. Those breaks are usually somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes long, which means we'll have a break in the morning, a break in the afternoon. The lunch hour is usually about 45 minutes to an hour. Depending on how the day is progressing, it might be a little shorter or it might be a little longer, but that's roughly how it'll go. If you need anything throughout the course of the trial, if you need to take a break for any reason, if you need a drink or anything like that, or if you need to stand up and stretch, just raise your hand and we'll make sure that you're taken care of. The most important thing here is that
Do we
you
need
are
to submit
comfortable
him to the
so
calendar?
that you're able to pay attention to the proceedings,
Asking for a
hear
friend.
and see all of the evidence, that you are the finders of fact in this case. You are the ones that will determine what happened. So it is most important that you are able to pay attention at all times. So simply get my attention by raising your hand. There will be a bailiff sitting right there. In fact, there is a bailiff sitting right there, actually to your right. He's usually sitting to your left, but he's to your right today. Just make sure you get his attention as well. Finally, as I mentioned at jury selection, there will be media coverage of this case. You've already noticed that there's a camera off to your left. One of the things I assured you of at jury selection is that your images will not be broadcast in any way. It's a very professional media outlet who covers the case. They know the rules. They are very experienced in this, so you don't have to worry about your images being captured in any way. I would just remind you to ignore the fact that there is media coverage of this case. The fact that there are cameras in no way should influence your deliberation, your behavior, or anything like that. Simply ignore the fact that they're here. And then if you do happen to see any media coverage or hear any media coverage outside of the court, I'd ask you to ignore it, turn your attention away, not listen to it, not expose yourself to it to the best that you can. But if you are inadvertently exposed to some media coverage, please report that to the clerk the next morning so that I can discuss it with you. All right, thank you. So with that, opening statements, the state does go first, so you'll hear from Attorney Garrod and then Attorney Starbranch. Attorney Garrod.
Ooh, no.
In the few months of the defendant's he went from being attracted to infatuated to obsessed. To the point where we all lost all ability to think reasonably, to control his impulse. He made a series of very poor, very alarming, and ultimately very criminal decisions. On 5 occasions, between January 20th, 2022 and February 9th, 2022, he broke into Rachel's mother's home in Somersworth where she was living, driving all of 350 miles, 5.5 hours from his home in Bensalem, Pennsylvania. The first time he broke in on January 20th, he used access entry by using the back window, breaking into the storage barn and going through his personal belongings. A few weeks later, on February 7th, over the course of 48 hours into February 9th, he made 4 separate entries into her home, this time coming prepared, with a pry bar in order to open her windows to gain entry, and a to-do list, a literal to-do list that included things like getting a key copy, planting microphones in order to hear her, and putting a tracker on her car. Now, while he's in her house during that 2-day time frame, he makes himself at home in the attic, bringing food and even a cup to urinate in. He does things that are on his list, such as making a key copy so that he can have better access. But he also does things like steal her underwear and photographs of her. Some of these entries, the defendant made sure, including the
Wow.
when he came in around 2 a.m. in the middle of the night, when he knew that Rachel, her mother Victoria, and her 2-year-old son Weston would be sleeping. The defendant broke into Rachel's home for no other reason than he had an obsession with her body, and that culminates that night in that final entry. He goes into her bedroom, lifts up the covers in her bathroom, and takes a video of her vagina for his own personal pleasure. Now, the facts of this case, from the start to the finish, are almost stranger than fiction, as the truth can sometimes be. Right down from how the defendant first met Rachel, the defendant all the way from Bensalem, Pennsylvania, and Rachel here living in Somersworth. And that was via this OnlyFans platform that we talked about on Monday. Now, OnlyFans is this platform
the video
where essentially a person can have a page or a channel, and other users can access that by paying to subscribe. It can be things like cooking tutorials or teaching somebody to play a musical instrument. But of course, the internet, what it is, it's commonly used to post pictures and videos of naked women, and the men there that pay to access them. And that's what this initial meeting was. Rachel had a page on OnlyFans where she would post nude pictures and videos, and the defendant was her subscriber, fan, if you will. He followed her page, and they engaged in various sexual banter. There's a message option on that app which allows, private requests and things like that. And at first, this relationship is purely transactional. She's communicating with the defendant because she's being paid to. But at one point, she gives him her personal phone number. And this messaging transitions from OnlyFans into this more personal realm of private cell phone texts. And as it did, the messages themselves became more personal. Rachel, who goes by Bella online, told him her real name and that she has a young son. She's a single mother. At first, she's engaging in these text messages because the defendant is buying her things. He purchased her a flat screen TV and this fireplace space heater item in the hundreds of dollars and sending them to her house. An address to send them to her house and later her mother's address when she moved back into the car. But then sometime around November or December of 2021, these lines start to get blurry between this fake sexual online play into a more personal world where real people are having real discussions and the defendant develops real feelings. So he has her drunk, and one day he takes this very drastic step And he decides to get in his car and drive again that 5.5 hours, 350 miles to her house, and just takes his chance and shows up. This is December 7th, 2021. Rachel is understandably a little freaked out. She tells him that she can't see him. She's a 2-year-old. She can't just drop everything and go out and see the defendant. And he leaves that day without getting to spend any face-to-face time with Rachel. They still have not actually met in person. A couple weeks later, he does this unannounced visit a second time. And that time, she does agree to see him. And they have consensual sex in her apartment before she sends him on his way. After that, from December to mid-January, he comes up 2 more times, unannounced again, 350 miles. But on both of those occasions, he does not get to spend any time with her. She sends him away. Perhaps frustrated by this, on January 20th, 2022, he again drives that long distance to Somersworth. And this time, not only does he not tell Rachel that he's coming, he never tells her that he's there. Instead, he goes in and he breaks into her home. Now you hear about this home that she shares with her mother. At that point, she had moved in around Christmas back in with her mom from her own apartment. And it's this old Victorian house, kind of like a maze. And it's got these 2 back rooms, one's unfinished, and the one behind that's almost like a barn that are attached to the house. There's an old wooden window on that back barn that slides to the side open. It had been secured by someone with a nail so it couldn't slide all the way. The defendant is able to break that window and then prop it back up afterwards so that if anybody was just looking at it quickly, they would not be able to know that necessarily that the window is broken of this old area of the house that nobody really goes to that often. So while he's in there in that back room, he's going through her childhood schoolwork. We know this because he took a photograph of something clearly important to him, a poem that she had written in grade school called Dear Summer Raindrops. And we also know this because his fingerprints were on the Saltine sheet protector that was used to contain it. So when he leaves, and by the way, that pictures, those timestamps from that are about 3 a.m. in the morning. So he leaves. Rachel and her mother have no idea he's even in town. Not supposed to say no idea that he had been in their house at 3 a.m. And perhaps emboldened by the fact that he got away with it on January 20th without anybody knowing, he returns a few weeks later. He drives all night and he gets to Somersworth, New Hampshire around 4 a.m. on February 7th. So that's a Monday. And as I have said, when he returns, he has a to-do list. This to-do list lays out his plans for when he was there and demonstrates that he is on a mission. And that list, that to-do list, is found later in the notes section of his cell phone. It has things like go to her house, then put a tracker on her car, lockpick her house, find her room and her stuff and get my shit back, get a key copy, put microphones and stuff to hear her, log into her phone hopefully, make sure to be very careful and sneakful around her home. Remember, get her phone and open it, unblock me on everything. It also details her son's name, his date of birth, a description of where her 2 friends live, that she drives a white Jeep. It lists her license plate and the name and number of Nate Wilson, the guy she had been seeing. So over the next 2 days, from that Monday to early Wednesday morning when he's arrested, he endeavors to complete this list. On Monday morning, he's able to get in using a pry bar that he brought up on a few different windows that he attempts to use on, or he's able to get one open and climb inside the home. He takes Rachel's keys right from the living room kitchen area while Victoria is getting ready for work. He leaves, and instead of just keeping that key to use to get inside of her house, he goes and makes a copy so as not to arouse any suspicion he returned the original. So he sneaks back in the house in order to return the original and puts the keys on Monday night, which Rachel, by the way, and Victoria have been turning the house down looking for
a couple days ago,
and puts them kind of underneath the kitchen island as if to say, oh, they've been here all along. So it's Monday night. When Victoria comes down the next morning to get ready for work, she sees these keys that she's been looking for all this time and thinks to herself, oh, I thought I looked there a million times, but here are my keys, thinking nothing of it. But while he's in the house returning the keys, he does take some of Rachel's belongings, as I said, for good measure, her underwear, some photographs of her that were around the house, before he leaves again. This is Tuesday morning now we're talking about, to go on a McDonald's run. Goes and gets some breakfast at McDonald's, some hot cakes and hash browns, and brings them back to the house, at which point Rachel and her mother are gone. And as he enters the house around 10:15, he sort of takes his time, goes around the house, filming the interior, taking pictures of her bedroom all while eating his breakfast. And at some point, he goes into the attic and brings his food up there. We know at some point that day he decides to leave again because he needs to go to Target to purchase a tile tracker. If you're familiar with those, it's an Apple product, but they can go on items like keys and stuff, and you use an app in order to track where it's going. He purchased that at Target, and he returns to the house. And this is around 9:44 p.m. that he's making that purchase. When he comes back to the house, it's late at night. And while he's debating his next move of whether or not he's going to sneak in and how, Rachel texts him. And she's saying, thinking, he's in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, that she's drunk, that she's lonely. She's drunk, she's intoxicated, and something she does when she's feeling that way is text the defendant things like, I wish you were here. But at this point, he had been here. Roughly 43 hours he had been here. But of course, she doesn't know that, and he doesn't tell her. So now we're up to 11:30 p.m. on Tuesday, February 8th, going into the 9th, Wednesday. And we'll get into more of this conversation that the two are engaging in that evening in a bit. But Rachel does eventually go when he says, oh, guess what, I'm in town, kind of saying this is another unannounced visit. She does agree to go out and meet with him in his truck. They kiss in the car. He pushes her head down to engage in oral sex, which she does for a brief second and then comes up and says, I don't want to do that. They have a discussion and she leaves, spending all of half an hour together. And she goes back into the house. And keep in mind, this is only the second time that they've ever had a face-to-face interaction. The first being back in December when she agreed to sleep with him. And this came now, a total of about 2 hours total that they've spent face-to-face. But she goes back inside and it's now about 1 a.m. The defendant waits a little while. He texts her at 1:51 a.m. and asks if she's awake. There's no answer, and he knows that she's been drinking. He waits 20 minutes and attempts to see if she's awake by calling her from a blocked number. There's no answer, so he re-enters the home. He takes his shoes off and leaves them at the door so as not to make noise. And for almost 2 hours, he's hanging out in her house while she, her mother, and her 2-year-old are sleeping upstairs. Ellen knows how he spent those 2 hours in her home around 2 to 4 a.m. But we're able to piece together from evidence that's found at the scene. For example, part of the time he was there, he was hiding in the attic because they found the tile device that he had purchased up there after he's arrested. He had wrapped it in blue masking tape as if to conceal what it was, but there it was, the blue tile, the tile that he had purchased. And they also found the McDonald's breakfast food, which he had apparently stored up there for later, as well as some graham crackers that he stole from the cupboard. We know he was up there for at least long enough time that he had to urinate, because the McDonald's cup, which had a previous beverage in it, assumingly, was now filled with urine. We can also piece together some of the things he was doing in the home because of the activity on his cell phone. During those hours where he's in Rachel's home, he's doing things like using Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. He's listening to music. Actually, his earbuds were found at the scene. He's accessing the flashlight tool on his phone. He's in his notes app, quite literally checking his to-do list.
It's not just you, it's the video.
We know that at some point, he came down and was walking around Rachel's bedroom. And we know this because at different times throughout the night, he's doing things like taking pictures of different items that are in her room. For example, at 2:30 in the morning, he takes a picture of her license plate, which was left on one of the rugs. Sorry, not license plate, license. About an hour after that, he took a picture of her cell phone lock screen. But of all the strange things he does that night, perhaps most concerning is the video he took at 3:19 a.m. when he lifts, again, like I said, it covers up the bed with her bathrobe and takes a video zooming in on her bare vagina. After that, he hangs around for about another hour until 4:15 when Rachel wakes up. Now you'll hear about that experience
It's
from
true.
Rachel
Me
herself.
too.
And she'll tell you that when she wakes
Absolutely.
up, she initially sees a figure, or thinks she sees a figure in the doorway, but she's half asleep. And while in the back of her head, she's thinking that this could be the defendant, who she knew was obviously around, she thinks maybe also it's her mom, or maybe that she's just imagining it. So she goes around the house to look. She's careful not to wake her son, Weston, and she goes into her mom's room, tries to wake her up, and says, "Mom, I think there might be someone in the house." And as they're doing this, they start to hear noises above their head. The defendant, they're at it. And then they start to kind of freak out. They call the police. When the police get there and come into the house and walk upstairs, they too can hear these footsteps on the attic and roof. They go outside and use their flashlights, shining them on the roof, and sure enough, there is a defendant, and he scuttles over to the other side. They run back up through the house. The police officer ultimately enters the attic, sees the window the defendant had opened, it cut a hole in the screen, and ultimately gets the defendant to come back in through the window, and they arrest him in his bare socks. Now, after the defendant had been arrested, all the police basically know is what Rachel and her mom know, and that's the defendant was there in the early morning when he was arrested. At this point, they haven't gone through his phone. They haven't seen the video he took. They haven't fully interviewed Rachel or him, or processed the crime scene, and they don't really know what they're dealing with. So you hear about how this investigation sort of unfolds, and they have to kind of work backward and figure out that he had been in the house for the last 2 days and back in January. And as I try to talk to him to get his side of the story, he downplays it. He says, "Well, we were fighting, we were arguing. I went in that night, sure, but I was just doing it to get my stuff back. And oh, by the way, the door was unlocked. I didn't break in or anything." And after getting that story, police kind of are finding out more details, almost simultaneously. Seeing this video on his phone, finding the urine, the McDonald's, stuff like that in the attic, and they go and they confront him with these details that don't really fit his story. They confront him and confront him and confront him until finally he admits to what he's done. Now, one thing he does not admit to, since the police had not gone back in his phone all the way to January, is that January 20th break-in. So he's not asked about that. He doesn't tell them. But he is specifically asked when he was here in January, when he had come to see Rachel, and he completely disincludes that January 20th trip. Now, I'm sure probably some of you are wondering, what exactly is this relationship between Rachel and the defendant? These two people that meet on this unusual platform are communicating, not spending any real time together, but when they are engaging in sexual activity. And that's a good question. And it's not an easy thing to put a label on. I said earlier this started as a very transactional relationship. The lines eventually got blurred, and that's true.
Hi, Jam.
But to Rachel, at least, they were never in a relationship. And when the defendant is asked, were you ever in a relationship, he agrees. He says, well, it was always this really complicated thing. In order to get the full picture, it's important to know about where Rachel was at the time. She was 24 years old, a single mom. Despite posting videos of her naked body, she would think maybe she's a confident person. She actually had incredibly low self-esteem. She had bad relationships with men, and she was drinking a lot. And so when the defendant comes along, showering her with these compliments and gifts, and clearly enamored, she liked it. She even encouraged it. She flirted, she spent her free time on the phone with him, FaceTiming him, free of charge. And even though she didn't really want any sort of real relationship with the defendant, this conversation that she has with him over text messages doesn't necessarily reflect that. And especially true if she had been drinking and texting the defendant. At one point telling him she kind of liked the fact that he was a little obsessed with her. Now when he would make his surprise visits and this person that was online is suddenly on her street, sure, it freaked her out, but part of her was also flattered. She wanted to be wanted. She wanted the attention from men, good or bad. And another part of her felt guilt. She knew she encouraged his feelings, and it was partially her fault that he would drive up all this way, spend all that time coming to see her, because she would say things like, I wish you were here. And part of that guilt sort of manifests in the sleeping with him. At times, Rachel was hot and cold. She would go from saying, like, this is too much, we have to stop talking, I'm gonna block you. And then she'd go back to talking with always these kind of hyper-sexualized overtones to the messages, since that is how this relationship initially started. And you'll see some of those messages. I don't see all of them, we'd be sitting here for a full extra week, but you'll see some, and you'll see that especially the messages that they exchanged on that day, February 8th, leading up to when he's arrested. And it's very indicative that day of how they spoke to each other over the course of this time frame. 1 minute, she's accusing him of not being able to move on, asking him to leave her alone. And then 12 hours later, when she's been drinking, asking if he wants to FaceTime her, saying that she thinks she's in love with him, that he's the only one that makes her feel special, and wishing that he was here. And when she's texting him, that she's drunk and that she's lonely, he sees that those text messages. So she doesn't know, but he's in town, on her street, and he thinks it's his chance. And he tells her, what would you do if I was here right now? And she goes out to see him. So you'll see those messages, you'll see the break in those messages when she goes up to talk. And you'll see the messages afterwards when she goes back inside and thinking about it, gets really mad at him for thinking that he just has the right to show up at her mom's house, picks a fight with him, and tells him to never come here again. For his part, he does engage in this kind of toxicity. And you might even feel a little bit sympathetic towards him, because at times Rachel is not really being fair with his feelings. But of course, having a girl play with your emotions doesn't give anybody the right to break into your house. Now, I don't know what the defense is going to be when I sit down and he gets up here. He mentioned on Monday something about role playing. And the defense may be that since there were times where she said that she loved him or liked that he was kind of obsessed with her, this somehow was permission for him to hide in her attic and film her while she's sleeping. Or maybe that this was some kind of sexual fantasy that they both had and were acting out. And while you consider that, or if you consider that, there's a couple things that you'll hear in evidence that I'd like you to pay attention to. And that's when the detective sergeant testifies about this interview that he had with the defendant the day after he's arrested. And he specifically asked, did she ever invite you into her house? He says no. He specifically asked, did she ever tell you to break in? And he says no. You'll also see 2 notes that the defendant wrote to Rachel. At one point, he had left one on her porch. It's actually not found until a few days after the fact, but a note that says, please forgive me for whatever I do. He writes another note in the police department to Rachel, apologizing for what he had done. Also, pay attention to the evidence of his actions, and especially the messages that he sends that day, where he actively tries to hide from Rachel the fact that he is in town, that he never tells her that he had been there, for example, for the 43 hours leading up to the evening of February 8th. And the fact that when the police come that night, instead, or when Rachel wakes up that night, instead of staying and engaging in some kind of like role play, he leaves and runs out off onto the roof in his socks. You also pay attention to what you won't hear. And that's any sort of evidence in phones or messages where they plot out some kind of role-playing sexual tryst that involves him hiding in her attic and urinating into a cup. What the evidence will not show is that Rachel or her mom, for that matter, either asked for or deserved to have the defendant creeping around in and out of their home, stealing their belongings, and violating their most basic privacy rights. What the evidence will show is that the defendant did these things, not because he thought he had permission to, but because he felt compelled, because he had gone from fan to fanatic and became obsessed with Rachel. And at the end of this trial, after you hear all the evidence, I will come back and ask you to find the defendant guilty. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Attorney Scarborough.
Good morning.
Oh, get yourself some water. He knows by stepping up there, he's going to be not liked by a lot of people.
You know, it's funny, yesterday we did the jury selection, we talked about, you know, the idea, or we try to do it a little bit better. It's funny, I didn't realize that Attorney Grau was going to be so upset by the role play issue. And you'll see why in a bit. You know, the other thing, and this is the thing about this case that you're going to find somewhat interesting and maybe a little unusual. There's not a lot in dispute here. You know, I mean, this is the case where, you know, we may hear lots of forensics and things like that. The fact of the matter is, you know, Mauricio was interviewed 3 times for hours, and they were taped and they were transcribed. There's not going to be a lot of dispute about, you know, mechanically what happened. The dispute is going to be about why and what it means. That's what the issue is going to be. You know, and I don't know if you want to call it role play or what have you, but ultimately, you're the ones who can decide whether or not this is a burglary. And that's what the issue really is here. So there may be some, you know, misconduct going on here, maybe some is criminal. The issue here is this a burglary? Is this a burglary? Let me just sort of introduce Mauricio again. He goes by Mo sometimes. I call Mauricio. I believe that Rachel Nunez calls him Mo. So I'll call him Mo from time to time because you'll see that in multiple interviews that you hear about. Mauricio, when this happened, was 19 years of age. He was really big. Rachel Nunez, of course, is 24. He does live in Pennsylvania. He lives here with his mother, so you that. But she's here by herself because the rest of the family is down in Pennsylvania working with family restaurant. They have a Mexican restaurant in North Philadelphia, and it's a group effort. The whole family works there, as does Mauricio. In fact, Mauricio practically worked with death, and really doesn't have a lot of time to do a lot of socializing outside his work. You know, the complaining, you know, witness, you know, Rachel Nunez, they meet on OnlyFans. You know, and as you know, heard from Attorney Garage, you know, it's a site that's used to sell material, or some people call it content. The person makes the content, there's a subscription service, and the person, you know, subscribes and buys the content. This is typically the extent of any kind of connection, you know, the purchaser and the content maker will have. Usually they don't have, you know, there's no personal phone numbers exchanged, you know, this is unusual. And this is where things really go south, because there is a relationship here. And a relationship which she actually welcomes, not just tolerates, but welcomes. You know, financially she does well. He's generous. And he gives her money and gifts outside the OnlyFans site because she wants them. But let's make no mistake about it. You know, they make that jump into the friend zone and then into, you know, more of a lover issue. They become lovers. There's no question about it. They had consensual sex.
New Hampshire.
They are lovers by definition. Right? They cross that line. And one of the things that is concerning about this case is really what he is a client. You know, and she knows it. She's known this right along. She's been playing him right along. And it's in her interest that he doesn't know. And he doesn't know that he's a client. He thinks that they actually have mutually enjoyed the relationship. And this is what, you know, this is the trouble in this case, is that, you know, this is your usual burglary, you know, which is economically motivated. You know, people think to themselves, burglary, well, that's when some guy in mass breaks in and steals a silverware. That is not the case, not even close. Like I said, there may be some issues, maybe there was an invasion of privacy, you'll have an opportunity to determine that. You'll have an opportunity to determine whether or not this is a burglary, or is it really a criminal trespass? Is he really trespassing and taking pictures he's not supposed to be taking? Burglary, folks, is the unprivileged or unlicensed entry into an occupied structure. Okay? That also can be a trespass. What makes it a burglary is the intent. What makes it a burglary is what was his intent when he crossed that threshold. He has to have the intent to commit a crime before he goes into that house. Okay? He has to go into the house with that pre-understanding that I'm going to break in to steal silver or to do some such thing, to steal what have you. It's obvious from, you know, the indictment says something clear either, because that had worked, but invasion of privacy, I'm not really sure. But this is going to be the issue: is what was his intent? And honestly, a lot of these stuff that you've heard the joke, the mystery seeking out the fingerprint people, people doing forensics on the cell phones and things like that, and it's going to take hours to get through it. The fact is, not necessary, because largely everyone's in agreement about what happened here. And the reason why everyone knows what happened, because she told them. 3 separate issues, 3 separate detectives, and it wasn't pleasant for Mauricio. Remember, he's 19. This is a shock to his system. Not only is he finding out the sad truth, which he's a client, now as he finds out, he's also finding himself in facing police officers for hours and hours and hours. And it's all going to come down to what his intent was. The first time he does come up, it is unannounced. It is in December, and she doesn't want to see him. And so he leaves. Fair enough. And by the way, while this is going on, they're always constantly in communication. You're going to see books and books and books of text messages, folders back here, text messages, thousands of them. This is going on throughout. Whenever he goes on the visit, it's discussed online, they're texting, they discuss it afterwards, and sometimes they discuss it before, sometimes he surprises her, hopes she'll see her. He comes prepared with gifts when he does that, when he comes up. This is sort of thing that sort of developed. But closer to Christmas, the first visit was roughly January 7th, that's probably. So as he gets closer to Christmas, he comes up and she welcomes him. He's like, okay, great. And they basically have a date. He stays for a couple hours in her home. She lives in Dover at the time. And he stays there and they engage in sexual activities, intercourse. And then, he needs some money and he needs some gifts. He also, and this is interesting too, because, most people who are content providers don't usually give their addresses to their clients. She does. And she does that so he can have stuff delivered to her house, which she's all for. This is, like I said, he's the one that doesn't understand he's a client. She doesn't really ever have any doubt about that. She doesn't have any feelings for him whatsoever, really. It's a pseudo relationship. He has feelings for her, and she knows that, and she exploits those feelings. She exploits those feelings in a very mercenary type way. And remember, she's really in position of control here. She's older, she's in the business, he's young, naive, stupid. Now I think he's a dumb person, but he acts dumb, stupidly. He's in love, she's let him on. And, to say that she's sending mixed messages, which, by the way, is one of the ways she describes this. She's interviewed as well. And one of the ways she describes this, I guess I was sending him mixed messages. Well, that's a wildly, grotesquely understatement. She also describes her behavior as leading him on and messing with his head. Her words. She actually tells him that. Repeatedly, she tells him that she loves him. She tells him that she enjoys having sex with him, and he's ready to believe that. He wants that more than anything else in the world. So when she says to him that I love you and I love having sex with you, he's on cloud 9, he's floating now. This is the tragedy here, is that he really got duped. And at the end of the day, there he sits.
He got duped?
Or maybe he's 20.
Oh.
This is the tragedy. What you're going to see, what you're going to find after the evidence is closed in the case, and again, largely it's going to come from his own mouth. You're going to hear, at least a few different detectives talking about interviews they did, and they were videos they called. What you're going to find is that, yes, he went into the house. Yes, he was making himself home now. But his intent is going to be the issue.
Let me see,
he didn't go in to steal things. He didn't go in to take pictures. The things that he took are dumb, underwear, pictures. No swimwear, no money. The act of going into his house was impulsive. It wasn't planned out. Yes, he has an idea how he's going to woo her, how he's going to go about that. But he doesn't plan ahead of time and say, well, I'm going to go in there and steal stuff, or I'm going to go in there and take pictures. No, he goes in there impulsively to sort of sit there and wait. doesn't live around here, he needs a place to stay. Sometimes he stays in hotels. Sometimes he sleeps in his truck. But this is this is
Well, what just happened, Mr. Auto Captions? And everything else? Oh, did we have a fail? Did we have an did we what? Come on now. Well, while I'm waiting for that to reload. Oh, what a champ.
Any of the jurors.
What a champ that is. While I'm waiting for that to load, it seems like she is she is 26 and he is 21 or 20 at this point. Oh, so much for those auto captions, huh? They really did a number. Oh man, I'm sorry everybody. This is what happens when you have the first time of doing audio or video, huh?
It's going to be the issue. He didn't go in to steal things. He didn't go in to take pictures. The things that he took are
It's not surprising. I need a better process.
Pictures. No silverware, no money. The act of going into his house was impulsive. It wasn't planned out. Yes, he has an idea how he's going to woo her, how he's going to go about that. But he doesn't plan ahead of time and say, well, I'm going to go in there and steal stuff, or I'm going to go in there and take pictures. No, he goes in there impulsively to sort of sit there and wait. He doesn't live around here, he needs a place to stay. Sometimes he stays in hotels. Sometimes he sleeps in his truck. But this is what we're talking about, because at one point they asked him, well, why'd you go in the house? You have this date there, and this is the thing. He goes up the day this happens. February 8th is probably when it happens, maybe the 9th, somewhere around there. When this happens, they actually have another date. He picks her up, he goes out to her house, he waits for her, she comes out.
Hydrate.
They go off, and they engage in more sex, fellatio, basically. And after that, they'll fight, and
yes.
Some of the things she says to him is, well, I'm going to throw all your stuff away, because she's got some stuff. She's got sunglasses, she's got something his mother gave him, she gave him a special hat, a beanie, she's got the sentimental value, she's got that. There are some things that she has. Also, the TV set, she keeps they get in a fight, and she'll say, well, just take the TV and go. Or I'm going to throw the TV away, just take it and go, take it to the fireplace and go. They have this fight, then they make up. Incidentally, at least one of these times, if not more, he starts to get a little smart and says, this is terrible, I'm out of here. He actually tries to get away from her. She reinitiates the contact. And she actually says to him things like, I actually enjoyed having someone obsessed with me. I like this game we're playing. I like this. So this is the problem. This is the problem with this case. She's 5 years older than he is. He's her client. And the tragedy in this case is he doesn't know that. He doesn't know that. And when he went into that building, into that house, it was impulsive. You could just easily say, well, he took graham crackers, he must have gone in there to eat something. He doesn't know what he's doing. He just goes in. And frankly, when you talk, when the council talked about the to-do list, he actually says in the to-do list, what are you going to do in there? He says in the to-do list, get my stuff back. Not a theft, he's getting his stuff back. Period.
Defense.
So at the end of the day, you're going to have choices. At the end of the trial, we'll all address you again. Attorney Rod and I will give you our views of the world. Which will be different, but you can find that the evidence is going to be somewhat, consistent with whatever his view of the evidence really is. But you'll be given the law by Judge Howard. And Judge Howard's going to talk to you about what your options are. And you'll have options, perhaps to convict him of stuff that he did, or maybe you'll find he did nothing. But at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to find that he went into that house with a purpose to commit any kind of crime. Period. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Attorney Ramos, are you calling the first witness?
No, you have to remind them to pull their binders out and their notes. All right, so what it's looking like here is it's looking like the prosecution is going line for line, exactly what's going on. They seem to address a lot of stuff. And then, yes, you are correct. This is not Uncle Fester at all. Not at all. Uncle Fester's fun and can light light bulbs, and you don't have to pay the electric bill. So this is going to be quite interesting. I don't want to go too far in this because I do want Brandy to be here while we're going through some of this. I am hoping, of all hopes, that they saw what happened this first go around, and then the next day or the rest of it is okay regarding audio. But we'll see. As my mic itself is having a moment and shorting out, so that's fun. Jeez. Oh Lord. So here's the bones of everything here. I said this in the beginning for those of you who joined. I'm just gonna hold this. If there's anything that's telling me it's time, it's this mic. So here's the plan. We are going to call it an early night 13th jurors, and we are going to have a good weekend. And we're doing that because this week was insane. We are not going to be doing a WTF, as I mentioned on Sunday. It is Mother's Day, so happy early Mother's Day to all you moms and mother figures out there. We appreciate you. I appreciate you. I know Brandy does. She's not here, but I feel safe. I feel safe saying that she believes that too. This is Uncle Old White Dude. called Pop Puns. So yes. So that's the deal here. This is going to be fascinating. So thank you all for hanging in there while I read the affidavit. Not the easiest to read through, but a lot of folks seem to be interested in it, and so I'm glad we did it. We got a good basis for what was going on here. We got to see just how messed up this guy is, and then we got to say defense WTF. WTF defense. Well, we know what they're going to be on in 2 weeks. Congrats to them. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for hanging in with me tonight. I appreciate it. Thanks for joining us. For those of you who joined us, Carmen, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yeah, new mic fund, right? This isn't even that old of a mic, but I do. I eventually want a lovely Shure mic. That would be lovely. One day, it'll happen. So yeah, thank you all, and we have a happy Mother's Day. And a wonderful weekend. And as Brandy would say, thank you for reporting to jury duty. And as I would say, we've dealt with a lot of dark things tonight. And just like Mr. Rogers said, look for the helpers. Take care of yourself. Take care of others. Smile. And enjoy your weekend, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll see you on Monday.